Oh man, it's just surreal. Like some of the seniors, I remember when Maggie was 6. I met her when she was 6 years old. She's a graduate. It's crazy. I'm so proud of the parents in this room and everyone who invested. What Chris said was spot on. So glad to be with you. Welcome, everybody. If we haven't met, my name is Dave. If you're new or newish, man, we're so grateful that you're here with us. I want to jump in. I want to tell a story about my neighbor, Tom. I live on a circle, and he lives at the top of the circle, the end of the circle. I don't know geometrically how to describe it. You know what I'm talking about, right? So he's there. Tom's there. He often is out, like, walking his dog. I like him a lot. He's a Giants fan. I'm so glad if you were a Dodger fan, man, that'd be tough, right? Just to love your neighbor. Tom's great. We've met him a couple times. I'm friendly with him. I don't know a ton. And so this past Saturday, I got up early, opened the garage door. This is information you don't need that is not really important, but it is crucial to the story. We have a pantry like in our garage, and it was older. And we had all the cans and all the food on it. It started sagging, and then the shelves broke. So we need a new pantry. So my wife's like, we need a new pantry. And I'm like, I'm so glad I'm so handy. Those laughs hurt, and yet they're true. And so I'm trying to figure out, I got to build a new pantry and try to figure that out. So I know it's going to be an all-day thing. So I open up my garage Saturday morning, and then Tom walks by, and he's got a dog, and Tom doesn't have a dog. And he's actually house-sitting or dog-sitting for his friend. This is detail, again, you don't know, but he's got a dog. And my dog's out there in the garage with me because my dog loves to be with me. And so he's like, hey, a dog. And so we're talking. We're just chatting out in my front yard. And then Tom, I thought it was just going to be like, hey, and the dogs. And then Tom starts sharing. And I'm like, oh, we're talking now. Okay, which is fine. I have an all-day project, but please, continue. It's fine. I've got all day to get this thing done. So Tom starts sharing, and he's near retirement. And it was Memorial Day, like the next day or in 2 days. And he's like, man, I'm just really frustrated. And I'm like, oh, what? And he's just, the older I get, the more brokenness I see in the world. I see our divisiveness and hostility and the cruelty in the world. I see it more clearly, I think, than I've ever have. It doesn't seem to be getting better. I see selfishness and people who don't lead well and brokenness and all sorts of stuff and greed. And it's really depressing. And I'm like, man, Tom, yeah, you're right. That I feel the same ache. And then he's like, and gas is so expensive? I'm like, and I made a joke. I was like, yeah, I just refinanced my home so I can fill up a tank of gas. And we laughed and we cried and hugged each other. And then Tom, who, and again, I realized I don't really know Tom that well. I don't really know that much about him. But he's like, you know what the most frustrating thing is? And I'm like, I don't know, but I think you're about to tell me, And he's like, the worst thing about it, the most frustrating thing is religion, man. I see it so weaponized and I'm so frustrated at it. It's nothing but a false hope. And then he starts digging into religion, and he quickly says, I hope you're not religious. Anyway. And I was like, I don't think I've told Tom what I do, And so, but and so he's talking about it, and he's frustrated, and I get it. I totally understand it. And then he said this actual quote. This was an actual quote from Tom. He said, hey, religious people, keep your invisible buddy out of this. We need someone real who can come and fix all this. But man, I feel that deeply, and I bet you do too. We need someone real who can come and fix all this. Don't you feel that? Like deep in your soul? I mean, this is the ache. Someone real. And, I'm a pastor, Tom, and it didn't feel like the right time, but, I really identified with that. And I don't know what Tom exactly is meaning, but I think about the cultural moment we're in. Like, we all want Spider-Man to come in, some superhero, some Batman, some Superman to come in and fix everything. But this is the ache, right? We need someone real. And I think what Tom is aching for, what I'm aching for, I think what all of us ache for, is what the Bible has a word for this. The word's Messiah, the one who will come and set all things right. The one who will come and be the true king and rule with justice and mercy and compassion and truth. We're all hungry for a Messiah. This is what our ache is. And Tom, I don't know if he could name it, but I think that's his ache. That's my ache as well. One of the great ironies of our post-Enlightenment, disenchanted world, where we don't really believe in invisible things, just the material world, is we're so desperate for the miraculous, for the possibility of something transcendent. Just the other day in the New York Times, there was an article, there was an opinion piece by Katja Ungerman, and this is what the quote said. It said, "There's a widespread feeling that the material explanation is no longer sufficient, that something uncanny, maybe even numinous, is diffused into the texture of ordinary life." This was just in May of 2026, like this month, I read this article, and I was just like, wow, this is so true, that there's a hunger for more than the broken world that we see. There has to be something more. According to Pew Research, 81% of Americans say there's something spiritual beyond the natural world. 67% of Americans believe miracles are still possible. 48% of Americans say they've experienced a miraculous answer to prayer that they can't explain. And 35% of Americans say they've experienced miraculous healing that is unexplainable. Maybe there are people in this room who you count yourself in those numbers too. Maybe you are among these. Today in the Gospel of John, we arrive at a miraculous story of healing. I want to share this because I think that this goes to the heart of what all of us are aching for, what my neighbor Tom is aching for, what I am aching for. Someone real who can come and fix all of this. John 4:46, this is the text. I'm going to read it, and as we go on, we're going to study the story of healing that John presents. Once more, Jesus visited Cana in Galilee. If you recall, Cana was where Jesus did his first miracle, turning water into wine, where he had turned water into wine. And there was a certain royal official whose son lay sick in Capernaum. When this man heard that Jesus had arrived in Galilee from Judea, he went to him and begged him to come and heal his son, who was close to death. "Unless you people see signs and wonders," Jesus told him, "you will never believe." So now we're going to pause here. First of all, this story kind of takes a turn I didn't expect. This guy comes to Jesus, and then Jesus seems to be irritated. He seems to be frustrated and offer a bit of a rebuke. And so this was confusing to me, like, what is going on? Jesus says, "Unless you people see signs and wonders, you will never believe." Now, the word here, wonders, is the word teres in the Greek. And the way John uses the word in this passage infers the word spectacle. It's like Jesus is doing these things, and people are like, I just want to see a magic trick. I want to be entertained. I want oohs. I want ahs. And Jesus is frustrated with that. He's frustrated with people who just want to come and just see a spectacle, to be entertained. Ross Peterson, a psychiatrist, is talking about miracles. He put it like this: we want miracles as a solution to our helplessness. We want miracles for meaning at a deeper level. Miracles lift us out of a humdrum life. And there's nothing wrong with that, but this is super incomplete. And notice how the story ends, though. The royal official's son is eventually healed, and John concludes the entire story this way. In John 4:54, this is how John ends this section. He says, this was the second sign that Jesus performed. Sign. In the Gospel of John, there are 7 signs. And John intentionally calls each of them signs, not miracles. A miracle, they are miracles, but John intentionally calls them signs. He's using language to point to something. A miracle can be experienced by humans as a momentary spectacle, an ooh, an ah, oh wow, wasn't that neat? But a sign's only a sign if it points to something, or in this case, someone. Signs always point to something beyond itself. I think what Jesus is frustrated with is this idea that we so often want Jesus' power, but we do not want Jesus himself. It's like taking from Jesus, like he's some sort of vending machine. Give me the ooh and the ah, but I don't really want you, I just want your power. But the point of anything miraculous in the Christian story, in the Bible, is to point to Christ himself. He is the answer. This is the first thing that this story teaches us. And the second thing is this: it's most often desperation that forms this truth in us, that what we most need is God himself, is Jesus. Here's the story again in John 4:46-47. Once more he visited Cana in Galilee, where he had turned water into wine. And there was a certain royal official whose son lay sick at Capernaum. When this man heard that Jesus had arrived in Galilee from Judea, he went to him and begged him to come and heal his son who was close to death. Now this term royal official is really important. It means of the king's household or of the king's administration. This is a man who worked for the king. Now what this likely means is this royal official was an official in the royal court of Herod Antipas. Herod Antipas ruled Galilee under Roman authority during this time. This man was wealthy, he was powerful, he was influential, he had all the right access to all the right people. And notice how he approaches Jesus. What is he doing? Begging. The story says he begged Jesus to heal his son. Wealthy, powerful, influential people with access to all the right resources and all the right people don't beg. And that's the point. Most often, it isn't until we arrive at the very end of ourselves that God finally has the room to do what only he can do. Self-sufficiency is our default action, and that must collapse. The idea that we can solve all of it and that we are alone and that we have all the power, that's got to collapse for the miracle to unfold, for God to work. So often, we place our trust in other things, and this is so easy to do. This is so easy to do, especially in the Bay Area. The Bay Area is filled with such innovation and intelligence, such resources. I know some of you. I hear your stories, and I know that you work, and all day long you solve really big problems. And you have the resources and the smart people around you to do it. And the problem is, in the Bay Area, we're so good at solving problems. I say it. Some of you are they work at medical device companies, and the stuff you talk about, I'm like, that's like magic trick. Like, we're going to go in through your foot, and then we're going to fix your heart by zapping it with robots. It's like, what? I'm simplifying. The point is, I don't understand. It feels like magic. It's crazy. It's like a miracle. How can you do this? The problem with the Bay Area, I think, in particular, is that we are so good at solving problems, we begin to believe that we can solve all problems. But there are some problems that we cannot solve. And if you don't understand that or believe that, just look at your news feed. Maybe you're like me, and sometimes you put your trust in money to solve the problems. If I just had more money, then things would be solved. Or power. Hey, I can hold this together, okay? Listen, I'm smart enough, I can hold this together. Let me hold this together. I'm smart enough. If everyone just listens to me, then we can just, if they would just do what I said. Or maybe it's influence or connections. And we place our trust in those things. And that, in some ways, that makes sense, but it all comes to the end. And desperation means self-sufficiency has died. And some of you in this room, I know you've experienced the pain of coming to the end of yourself. And I would actually say this is a glorious and beautiful thing. I think it's where God begins to work. I think about the first mantra of AA. We admitted that we were, what's the word? Powerless. End of myself. Desperation. And those who have gone through AA who know about addiction and sobriety testify this is a beautiful place to be because it's the beginning of healing. Some of us know about the pain of coming to the end of yourself. You built that company, but you lost your marriage. You get the promotion, and yet you still find yourself unable to sleep at night. You fall in love and get married and have kids, but you still find that there's an inner ache that's unhealed. You've got access to all the right people, but you feel completely alone. Your calendar is full, but your soul isn't. I think we're most deeply formed when we're the most desperate. when financial uncertainty brings us to our knees, when infertility casts a dark, unwanted cloud over our lives, when the diagnosis rewrites the story we've been carefully writing for ourselves, when the child we love is struggling in ways that we just can't fix, when the career that you've built is unable to carry the weight of a meaningful identity, when you're surrounded by everyone and feel like you're known, really known by no one, when anxiety follows you around in like some sort of cloud and you can't get rid of it, when insecurity screams, you're not enough and you'll never be enough, and you can't get rid of those voices, or when shame enslaves and beats us down. What are we to do in those moments? I think desperation is a good place. And what are we to do? I think the answer is in John 4. The royal official said, "Sir," these words are so arresting. "Sir, Lord, come before my child dies." He goes to Jesus. He has nowhere else to go. He is desperate. "Go," Jesus said. "Your son will live." And the man took Jesus at his word and departed. This is the key. He believed Jesus. Sometimes the English word for this is faith. That's a mushy word. Trust is a better word. He trusted. Jesus is the Messiah. He can heal. Now, what we know is this man lived in Capernaum, and this story happens in Cana. That's 20 miles away, and it's difficult terrain. Bible scholars say it's a 6 to 8 hour journey back then to get home. And that whole time, he's probably wondering, did it work? Is my son okay? There's no internet. He can't call anyone. He's just in the silence, in that in-between space of, is this true? Is this all made up? Is Jesus really the Messiah? But what's it say? He took Jesus at his word. He trusted he was actually the Messiah, and he was actually going to heal. Faith is sometimes cultivated in the gap and the distance between the promise and the fulfillment. And then here's the story in John 4:51. While he was still on his way, his servants met him with the news that his boy was living. And when he inquired as to the time when his son got better, they said to him, "Yesterday at 1 p.m, the fever left him." And then the father realized this was the exact time at which Jesus had said to him, "Your son will live." So he and his whole household believed. And this was the second sign that Jesus performed after coming from Judea to Galilee. I just talked about how Jesus healed. And I'd be remiss if I just talked about it like it was something that happened in the distant, ancient past. In this moment, this is a sign, John says, a sign that points to Jesus as being the one who can heal this broken world. He is the healer. The Messiah has come to earth. Jesus left heaven and came to earth and walked among us and healed as a sign about who he was and what he's here to do. I know in this room, because I know some of your stories, the idea of Jesus being a healer is something that you need right now. So we're going to spend some time just as a family to pray. The man took Jesus at his word. Let's be a church that takes Jesus at his word, that he's the kind of God who can heal. It might not happen instantaneously. It might not happen in the way that you and I would expect. It might be the beginning of a long journey. It might be the first thing, and then Jesus is going to be with us, and it's going to take a long time to put this thing that is broken back together. But I want to take some time and pray. I'm going to invite the prayer team, our elders, our pastoral staff. We're going to be here on the sides. And what we're going to do is we're just going to create some space. I'd like to invite you. Some of you are carrying some really hard stuff. I'm convinced that God does not want you to carry this alone. And we'd love to pray for you and with you. We'd love to bring whatever burden it is that you're carrying, whatever needs healing, whatever needs fixing, before God, with you. I've been doing this long enough. I know sometimes it's really hard. It's really hard to pray with someone. You're like, let me just pray in my seat alone. That'd be great. I know sometimes even verbalizing it out loud is like making it real. I'm telling you, that's exactly what you might need to do. Sometimes just praying with another person makes it real, right? Because you're saying it out loud, and you're afraid if you say it out loud, then that'll make it real. Look, it's already real. Let's not live in denial. Let's bring this before God. So whatever is broken, whatever you need healing with, it could be a relationship or provision or literal physical healing. And here's the other thing, it might not be for yourself. This royal official comes to Jesus and collapses in front of him because of his love for his son. Would you heal my boy? Some of you are people you love very, very much, and they're deeply hurting. Would you come and pray for them and help bring them before the Lord, and we will love to pray with you for that. It's not weird. I think this is what we're supposed to do as brothers and sisters in Christ. This is what families do. They share and carry one another's burdens. Would you allow us to pray with you? If you feel comfortable, please just come up and pray. We believe to our core that Jesus is real, and he is the one who can put this broken world back together. He is the one our hearts ache for. He is the healer. The worship team is going to sing some songs, create some space. When you feel comfortable, if you feel comfortable, we'll be over here on the sides. We would love to pray with you. If you are comfortable and when you feel led, just come pray with us. Let me pray right now. God, Jesus, thank you for this story and the reality that you are a God who sees our need and comes and heals. Thank you for your deep compassion on this man, this royal official. Thank you for the story of him falling at your feet and you lifting him up and then answering his prayer. Help our unbelief. Help us believe. Help us take you at your word. And would you please heal? We know that this doesn't always mean it will instantly be fixed, but that you will be with us perhaps, or that you'll slowly fix it, or sometimes it means you will absolutely fix it right then. But God, in your own time, we trust you. We trust you. Would you heal and put us back together, put this world back together? It is in your name that we pray. Amen. Will you stand with me? And if you feel compelled, if you are carrying something heavy for yourself or someone else, will you please let us pray with you? That the God who left heaven and earth, Jesus, is here and he is a healer.